Right, let's come in then to transfers coming in. And I think I can start by saying the one player that's been linked a lot with Celtic over the last week or so, Jocelyn. I mean, how do I pronounce this? Is it Tabai?
Tabai, I think.
Tabai.
I
Jocelyn.
think it's Tabby. Tabby, that is Tabby.
Is it Tabai actually?
No, I'm joking. I'm just so you know.
Tabby cat. Jocelyn Tabai. Ryan, we understand that it's not going to go ahead now.
Yeah, I think that one's hit the buffers. He has been on Celtic's transfer list. I think he was on Paul Tisdale's list for the last, definitely since the summer anyway. But we were kind of told that one was going to be unlikely. Obviously, he's got his injury issues at the minute, so it looks like that one's going to be paused for this in the transfer window anyway. It could be revisited perhaps in the summer. But it looks like that £2 million deal is going to be postponed for now.
And another player who won't be joining Celtic this month, it seems, is Kyogo. What did you guys make of the notion of trying to replace Kyogo Furuhashi with Kyogo Furuhashi? Is that something you guys would have been on board with, or is it best leaving it in the past?
I was probably more downbeat than most. I felt that it's easy to say this now, but there was signs that the player that kind of thrilled under Ange, and to be fair to Brendan, I don't think it was just a Brendan Rodgers thing. I just think the player himself, I think that was one that was, the blame was apportioned towards Rodgers in the sense, you can't get the same, but there was just too many of those games. I remember his last season, or under Rodgers in general, goals against Atletico Madrid and goals against Lazio Champions League, still big moment goals, 2 against Rangers the first season, but it was moments rather than full games. I always felt under Ange that there was more to Kyogo's game, and it just started to peter a bit, and I think that's been reflected with his goal contribution in the last year. It was a disaster at Rennes, and he's been that is the criticism for Birmingham fans, that they like moments his game when he spins off and does his Kyogo style runs, but there is parts that he's just anonymous, and I think that's been too long in the last couple of years. It just feels that Kyogo's probably at his pomp was as popular a striker since Henry Larsson. Would that be fair? That kind of talismanic player, but I just don't think that player's, for whatever reason, and that happens in football, doesn't it? I just think it would have been indicative for Celtic with the other season of trying to find solutions and going to old faces and all this, but I don't know if Kyogo was the right option, and I feel that it still looks pretty grim that replacing Kyogo with Kyogo, and I don't think the recruitment team can hide for that, but the fact that it isn't him, maybe this is just the one chance to find someone who potentially could give them more in 2026 than Kyogo could. I know he took his goal really well and started before that, but I just do feel that his direction of travel as a player's it's not an upwards trajectory at present, and I think Celtic might have the chance still, if they can find a striker that could give them more than Kyogo.
Yeah, I had particularly strong views on Kyogo when the news emerged that Celtic had launched a bid for him. I just feel as if it just sums up exactly where Celtic are as a club at the minute, and exactly how much faith they've got in the recruitment team. Kyogo, let's not forget, told the club last summer, so 18 months ago, they wanted to leave, and he eventually got his wish in January. So Celtic have known for 18 months that Kyogo had wanted to leave. And since then, they brought in one striker, Kelechi Iheanacho. And it's, like everybody's been saying, to wait that long and then to look to replace Kyogo with Kyogo, it just shows you it's not just the fans that don't have any faith in a recruitment team. It's the board, it's the management as well, because you're constantly going back to old faces. Yeah. And it just kind of, for me, it just sums up where Celtic are as a club at the minute. I just feel as if they're out of ideas, they're outdated, they're out of touch. And that transfer for me would have just perfectly summed things up. I said I was invited onto a Birmingham City podcast when they signed him in the summer. And for once, my words have aged quite well. I did say in the podcast that I felt that Celtic cashed in at the right time for Kyogo when they sold him to Rennes for £10 million in January. There was a game I remember that was at Dundee United. I think Celtic drew 0-0 at Tannadice in December 2024, and Kyogo missed an absolute. It was a kind of one-on-one. It was an absolute sitter, and Celtic, he could have won Celtic the game. He didn't. But for me, that was just one example of so many where he just lost his killer touch up front. I felt that Celtic had got the peak years out of him. He didn't look too happy towards the end as well. I don't think he quite enjoyed playing in Brendan Rodgers' system and being asked to play a different role. And since he's left, obviously he's got the shoulder issues, which I don't think have bothered him in the last 12 months or so. But he also has that shoulder issue as well. He scored one, not even scored a league goal. He had up until the weekend, he'd only scored one League Cup goal for two different clubs. Obviously, he added to that tally at the weekend. So he scored 2 goals now in the space.
That was the FA Cup at the weekend as well.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, yes, I've heard the argument he would be a better option up front than Johnny Kenny and Shin Yamada. But let's be honest, that's not really going to be difficult at the minute. So for me, you need to be casting net far and wide. And surely, after having so much time to scout a striker, there's other options out there. And to me, it's absolutely scandalous that Celtic haven't got a striker in by. I mean, we're at January 12th now. They should have a striker in by January 1st.
Aye, I agree.
I think it's absolutely scandalous that there's no additional striker in the door just now. I think Martin O'Neill finds himself in a similar situation as Brendan Rodgers did. You know, he's making it clear in the press that he needs help. He needs signings in the door and quick. Celtic can't afford to hang around. It's a massive month in January, and Brendan Rodgers is essentially saying the same. You know, he needs quality signings in the door. And for me, you know, if Martin O'Neill's to be brought back, which he has, and he's going to see out the season, the Celtic board have a duty to back him in the transfer market. Because it's quite simply, if they don't, then Celtic aren't going to win the league. You know, they'll be lucky to finish second.
I mean, the one guy that has been linked with Celtic is Lorient striker Mo Bamba. He's 24, from the Ivory Coast. He's never actually played for his country, but he plays in League One in France. He has made 15 appearances for Lorient this season, and he scored 1 goal. Now, this guy could come to Celtic and be immense. He could be this second coming of Henrik Larsson. But looking at his stats, looking at his background, it doesn't really fill me with any great optimism that he's going to come in and be the answer to Celtic's striking problems. And as you say, Ryan, why was there not a striker on January the 1st? I mean, we're still not a broken record, but surely to goodness, they must have a list of strikers, I don't know, around the £5-6 million mark that would come to Celtic. I just think this is bizarre.
One of the biggest gripes Celtic fans say, and I think this is a pretty telling point, is that Celtic still seem to be shopping in the same market they were in 2007, £2 to £3 million players. But they're the equivalent of £500,000 players now that the money's moved. And the thing with Bamba as well, that he did really purple patch about the season, like last season, the season before. He's a very streaky striker where he scores and